Hi, and welcome to DMA 111, the Introduction to Animation. This tutorial is going to show you how to get your software set up for this class. The first thing that you have here is a welcome screen that you need to get past. You can just click on it anywhere to start working with the software, but if you don't want to see this every time you open the software, just click on this box right here. The default startup when you first install this program is an animation. You can change this in Preferences so that you start out with a blank file. Let's look at some very important settings in the Preferences menu right now. Go up here to Edit, and then choose Preferences. Here's the default startup that I mentioned. If you click on this drop-down, you can see that you have choices in how you want the program to start up. You'll also need to set up your custom content folder. If you didn't do this right away when you first installed the program, then just go ahead and click on this box and choose a place on your hard drive where your custom content is going to be set up. If you don't do this, you may not be able to access some important tutorial assets later in the semester. Now let's look at timeline preferences. Click here. If you have a check mark next to Consolidate Timeline Channels, you need to uncheck that, okay? You do not want a check mark here. This is very important in order to be successful in this class. So remove the check mark. Next, click on the Tools tab here, and be sure that your check marks match what you see here on the screen. Particularly this. Don't have a check mark next to Classic Point Editing Keyboard Shortcuts. And you do want a check mark right here next to Enable Drawing Tools only on frame 0. Now click over here on the Appearances tab. I'm sure that when you installed your software, everything looked a lot darker for you than what you see here on my screen. I prefer a lighter background. And you can adjust this by using this slider and sliding it back and forth to have a darker or lighter background. And also for certain highlights within the software, you can see this blue swatch right here, and you can see that my highlights down here in the timeline and over here in the layers menu are showing the blue. So it's your choice. You can pick different colors for this. And now I'll click OK to exit the preferences. Another very important setting that you need to look at is over here in the upper right called Beginner's Mode. If you have a check mark in this box, uncheck it. You do not want to be working with Beginner's Mode for this class. When you work on animation projects for this class, you'll be using the default settings. For example, if I click on File and New, and this creates a new blank file. And then if I click on File, Project Settings, you can see what the project settings dimensions are. Okay, here's the width in pixels, the height in pixels, the frame rate, and so on. Now you can just click OK to close that menu. So that's it for the initial software setup information, and you can move on to the next tutorial.